Hi everyone, today we'll walk through the wonderful Pandora and talk about meta best build in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and the Skybreaker DLC. And today we'll talk about two versions of this build. We'll talk about version if you don't have Season Pass and Skybreaker DLC. By the way, Skybreaker DLC is wonderful DLC with some sort of Navi Olympic Games you can live through and a wonderful twist plot continuing the main story with some of your Sorrento friends and other clans rivaling each other and some very difficult questions that some clans need to solve to live peacefully among each other and to win the war against RDA. So in general, it's a very good DLC, but today we are for builds. And I will show you builds if you don't have Skybreaker DLC, and the alternative version if you do have Skybreaker DLC, what items should you choose to successfully conquer the whole new region and to kill every rival from RDA. So starting our build, I will start of course from the base game version of the build. So everything you need for this build is only to have base edition of the game, standard edition of the game. You don't need any DLCs or you don't need to farm any gear from premium shop, because as in every Ubisoft game you can buy everything from premium shop completely for free, just doing contracts. It's online feature of every game, of Assassin's Creed games, or Far Cry 6 game, etc. It's a wonderful feature that you can get all the skins, all the items from premium store simply for free, just doing very simple contracts and buying items. So this build only require you playing through the main game and doesn't require you playing through this online feature in game. So what items should you wear? It's the best items, by the way, in the base game, in the standard edition of the game. As a headgear, I'm using Sorrento headband. It can be crafted. And why I'm using this item? Because it has wonderful perk renown plus 20% clan favor from quests and activities. It's very helpful, but in addition to that, I'm rolling stealth, elemental resistance, and energy on this item, because if you play this game, or if you just want to play this game, as in many Ubisoft games, stealth is the main key to succeed. And here you have very big amount of damage you get from stealth attacks and stealth kills, especially due to our skill tree. So we need to increase our stealth stat, and also in addition to that, to get more items, to get all the items more accessible for you, you need more clan favor. It's a currency in this game. You have some currencies with resistance with humans. You have regular currencies like in every other game, but also with clans you have something such thing like clan favor. So doing quests and doing contracts for clans, you get this clan favor, and you spending this, you can see the spiral at the left side of my screen, you spend this clan favor to buy new items. So it's very important to get more clan favor from quests and activities. So this is why this item is very good, but also it has one of the highest, if not the highest, health stat. In addition to that, we are rolling, as already said, stealth, elemental resistance, because fire doing a lot of damage to you, and other elements also doing a lot of damage, especially from the wildlife, and additional energy, because energy is always very useful in Avatar. We also have very interesting mechanic in this game when energy is also needed to restore your health. So we definitely need a lot of energy. As mods in our headguard, I'm using Acros Crafting headguards that's increasing our damage to marked enemies. It's very easy to mark enemies. You just need to use your Navi sight and to inspect enemy. So, as our chest guard, I'm using Oniluke's cape. All the items, by the way, you get either from clans vendors or from main storyline. So you don't even need to do side quests to get these items. Just go through the main story and you will open all the blueprints for these items. As a chest guard, I'm using Uniluke's cape, as I already told you, because it also has one of the highest health stat. In addition to that, it's increasing. I'm rolling on this item bonus health, because health is always something you need to get more and more additional stealth stats. And elemental resistance, again, I already told you that we got a lot of damage, especially from fire. Fire is biting very, very hard in this game. So we need elemental resistance as much as possible. In addition to that, I'm using Rajindra's Safeguard Strap chest guard mod that's giving us invasion, that's giving us 40% more ranged resistance for 15 seconds after breaking line of sight from hostile enemies for 5 seconds. It's very easy to do, even when you are raiding RD big bases. Just kill the enemy that's looking at you and gets away, and you will get this ranged resistance for 15 seconds. That is very, very nice. And also, you don't even need to load down the awareness of enemies, so you don't need to get out of aggro, you just need to get out of sight from this enemy, so just hide behind some objects and you get this bonus. It's a very strong chest guard mod. As our arm guard, I'm using Uniluk Scuff, also one of the highest health stats in the game. In addition, it's restoring 15% health after killing an enemy. That is saving me a lot after killing every single enemy, even little enemy, even without even the lowest rank enemy. I'm getting 15% health back. That's helping me a lot in all the situations, even in DLC when some of the enemies are much higher rank than me. Their combat strengths sometimes 23 or 25. It still helps me a lot, and it's saving my life so many times. In addition, I'm rolling bonus health, weak spot damage, because it's very easy to hit weak spots with especially our bows. In addition, elemental resistance, because elemental resistance in this game is very, very important. About mods on our arm guard, it's a flex spot. I'm using Seed Signal Booster, but it's not something important. I'm just using this because I love to play stealthy. As you can see from my other videos, I'm a big fan of Assassin's Creed franchise, so I'm in love to play stealthy. So I very like to have additional seed hacking range because it helps you to sabotage different RD bases from stealth. But if you don't want, you can use some other things, like for example, if you're farming clan favor, you can use Agro's Ornate Bracelet to increase additional clan favor from quests and activities for 10%. Or in addition, you can use Uniluk's Bracelet that in addition restore 15% health after killing in enemies, and you will have 30% total. Or if you don't have Exquisite of mods, you can use, for example, Arm Guard mods. It's called Arm Guard mod, and it's giving you 15% energy and 10% RD damage. Also very, very strong. It's one of the best, by the way, superior or purple, call them whatever you like, mods in the game for arm guards, even despite it's purple. In terms of our waist clothes, I'm using Mask Maker waist clothes. It's also one of the highest, if not the highest, if I remember correctly, it's the highest health stat in the game, in the base game. It's increasing. That's also giving us energy cost for health regeneration reduced by 30% bonus. This is also very, very strong. When you have energy, you will restore your health much, much faster. And to restore your energy, you need some food in your pockets. Any food, by the way, works. It restores your energy for a very big amount. So just have some food and you will have your restoration health all the time. So it's very, very strong bonus, especially in our build, especially when you are playing when you're fighting with enemies of the higher ranks. And in addition, you need to roll this item, elemental resistance. Again, we will already be talking about Ikran stamina, because Ikrans are very powerful, especially when you open Ikran's passive, Ikran's active skill that lets you to, it's a passive, but it's giving you active skill. That's giving you an opportunity to stun enemies and to finish enemies in the air. Your Ikran is one of the best weapons in the game. Don't sleep on your Ikran. So you need to roll Ikran stamina in addition stealth, because again, stealth is very powerful. Stealth is a very, very powerful tool in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and it's giving you additional very good opportunity to slay half of the RDA base. Even if you don't like stealth, you can very easily take down half of the base without being even detected. So stealth is a very, very powerful tool, especially when you are playing endgame and when you are raiding RDA bases. Even if you don't want to play stealthy, it's very easy to kill several enemies. Even some of the, even in a lot of situations, it's very easy to slay half of the base even without being detected. So we need this stealth stat, even if you don't want to play stealthy, because it will simply ease your life. Even if you are not playing stealthy, just don't use your firearms, because your firearms in most of the situations will detect you in the middle of the second. In terms of our mods, I'm using on waist clothes reinforced belt pouch. That's increasing my firearms damage, because firearms damage is also very good, especially if in DLC. And increasing our firearm damage, what can be better than increasing already quite nice damage. And in terms of guards, there will be two different ankle guards that you can use. And it depends on what you want to use and what's your playstyle. The best arm guard in the game is Sorrento ankle guards. It's with the highest health stats, and it's also giving you some wonderful perks. And perks you need to roll and craft on this item are: fortification increases physical resistance, but decrease outgoing damage by 20%. It's not a great deal, because you will compensate this 20% simply with your passives and with other mods and other items. So it's not really a problem for your build. But if you want more damage, you can swap to Unilux ankle guards. That will increase weak spot damage, giving you additional 10% melee resistance and 3% range resistance. It's a very strong guard that giving you quite a lot of resistance and giving you quite nice weak spot damage, but you need to shoot enemies only weak spots, and for some players it may be difficult. So I highly suggest you using Sorrento ankle guards. Yes, you will lose some damage, but it's not a lot damage, because you will compensate it with simply just, for example, sliding. This is why I'm using this mod. We'll talk about this mod a little bit later. So I highly suggest you using Sorrento ankle guards. It will lower your damage again, as I already told you several times, but increase your physical resistance a lot. In addition, it will give you additional bonus health if you craft everything right: elemental resistance and melee resistance. And Unilux ankle guards, you already saw what it's doing. It's also very, very strong with a very high health stats, very good ankle guards, but it's giving you also good resistance, but less resistance less resistance than Sorrento ankle guards with fortification perk. In terms of mods, I'm using Unilux Nimble Gators. That's increasing our damage on the next attack after sliding plus 20%. So we easily compensate this fortification debuff, because we're giving a lot of physical resistance from fortification perk, and we need to compensate this 20% damage. By the way, with all our items, we already compensated it. In terms of our weapons, I suggest you using 4 items, because they are very, very powerful. Assault rifle, right assault rifle with right perks and right mods. It's a very powerful thing, especially with stagger ammo. Shotgun, again, very powerful. If anyone talking that firearms in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora are weak, don't listen to those guys, because firearms are very strong if you're using them with the right perks and right builds. Trust me, I will show you. And what I'm using assault rifle, I'm using shotgun, I'm using heavy bow, and I'm using short bow. But also, again, if you want to swap to another weapons, for example, like longbow and spear thrower, I will talk about best variants that you can use. And of course, you have staff sling. Maybe you don't remember about this thing, but also very powerful thing if you want to put traps for your enemies. So let's talk about weapons in general. And not only weapons of my pick, but all the weapons you can use. Because if you don't like, for example, spear thrower or other items, or don't like, for example, heavy bow, you can easily swap to longbow. But I prefer short bow due to its fire rate, and heavy bow due to its very high damage and very high range. So I really prefer these 4 items: short bow, heavy bow, assault rifle, and shotgun. It works perfectly with our build. But still, in terms of longbows, I'm using Solex Fugitive Longbow with perks energize and restores energy after killing enemy. Also, you remember that energy giving us health restoration payback, deals 30% damage for 20 seconds after breaking line of sight from hostile enemies for 5 seconds. Again, we've been talking about this perk. the same perk on our items of our on our armor. Powers will draw 20% damage when our longbow is fully drawn, and in addition we are crafting stealth damage on this bow. Well, very strong bow with wonderful perks. In terms of mods, we are using Kitangi Master Grip. Efficient tactics deal 15% more damage on next attack after hitting weak spot. Quite obvious. With longbow, it's very easy to shoot crit spots, so it's very easy to hit weak spots and deal additional damage after hitting a weak spot. 15% more damage. And chain reaction, 50% more damage on additional hits against the same target. Stacks up to 3 times. Very nice perk. It's not the best perk, only on heavy bow. On heavy bow, it would be difficult due to its very low recharge rate. It would be really difficult to hit several shots one by one to the enemy. So chain reaction is a good pick for longbow and shortbow, but not for the heavy bow. In terms of our shotgun, I'm using, if you are playing base game, I'm using Herod's Merciless build up with a highest damage in the game, 250 damage in the base game. I'm talking base game only, with lethal momentum that giving 20% damage for 10 seconds after killing an enemy, and it's very easy to kill enemies with shotguns, and also deal an additional 30% damage when you are under 40% health. Again, also very nice addition, because 40% health, it's quite enough for you to kill enemies, especially with shotguns that has very high one-shot possibility. And if you are already playing DLC, the best variant, at least what I found, if I find something better, I will update description of the video, so check the description whenever you're watching this video. But for now, it's Brutal Shotgun that also have, both shotguns have Storm Ammo that is very, very extremely powerful, that staggering enemies, and in addition also dealing 20% damage on next attack after hitting a weak spot. It's not very difficult to hit weak spot with shotgun, especially with storm ammo, because with storm ammo you can simply stun your enemy, and after that dealing additional damage to weak spots. In addition, we have 16% weak spot damage on this wonderful shotgun. In terms of stats, Herod's Merciless build up a little bit better, but in terms of overall damage, Brutal Shotgun is much better, so it's the best pick in DLC. In terms of mods, I'm using Medic Muzzle Break, revitalizing, restoring 15% health after killing enemy, also really easy to kill enemy with shotgun. You have a very high one-shot or three-shot possibility, especially when you're fighting against mechs, and high capacity magazine, increasing magazine capacity, and 50% more RDA damage. Look, you need be careful. You need Exquisite version of this mod to get additional RDA damage, because there are different variants of this mod. In terms of our assault rifle, by the way, assault rifles are very strong in this game if you find the right assault rifle. And the best assault rifle in the base game is M69 AR AMOC, and with 18 damage. And it also has stagger ammo that's also giving a lot of crazy amounts of damage, especially to fortified enemies, with lethal momentum, 25% more damage for 10 seconds after killing enemy. Again, very easy to kill enemies, especially if you are going for headshots. And sliding strike, 15% damage on next attack after sliding. So again, you are sliding to compensate bonus debuff from ankle guards, and again you are sliding to get additional damage on our assault rifle. If you are playing already DLC, you will very soon fight another M69 AR, but this time it will be Resolver with 19 damage. Again, stagger ammo, one of the best ammo on the assault rifle in the game. And here we have two wonderful perks, mounted damage and RDA damage, both 16%. This is very powerful, especially remember I already told you that your Ikran is a very powerful weapon, by the way, by itself. So definitely use your Ikran, and this AR will also increase your mounted damage, your damage on Ikran. And by the way, on horses too. In terms of mods, I'm using Locked and Loaded, 15% damage to marked enemies, and of course RDA additional damage, 20% RDA damage. If you playing base game without DLC, you will not have access to Guerrilla Magazine with 20% RD damage and 2 additional damage. You will have this version of mod, High Capacity Magazine, that also increases magazine capacity, also very nice, and increasing your RD damage for 15%. Also, very nice option. By the way, M69AI Resolver is a wonderful, with stagger ammo, wonderful assault rifle, one of the best weapons in the game currently. In terms of our spear thrower, if you want to use spear thrower again, it's not something I'm using all the time, but if you want, you can swap, for example, from heavy bow to spear thrower, or from shotgun to spear thrower, also very nice weapon. I'm using Fearless Warrior spear thrower, also one of the highest damage stat in the game, with Shellbreaker spear that's also giving a lot of damage to fortified enemies, with additional brutal intimidation perk ranged resistance for 15 seconds after killing enemy, and spear thrower deals additional damage to enemies close to the impact with a very high damage radius of damage, AoE damage. In addition, I'm crafting stealth damage and wildlife damage on spear thrower, because spear thrower also very good, especially when you're fighting groups of wildlife enemies. So it's giving both AoE damage and increasing your wildlife damage. Very, very nice thing, especially when you are hunting for wildlife. When you're playing DLC, you will very soon get legendary Exquisite Spear thrower that also has Shellbreaker Spear, and also increasing rage with his powerful throw perk, and Wounded Fury that deals additional 25% damage when you are under 40% health. In addition, it has 30% wildlife damage. By the way, you remember that all assault rifles and shotguns, they are not crafted, you simply find them in the game. And in terms of our Exquisite Spear thrower, you also get this simply from quest, from main story quest. It's one of the prologue quests before the logo of the DLC. You will get this simply for playing quests of the Skybreaker DLC. All the other items you need to craft, of course. And mods, of course, you also find all the mods in the game. You are not crafting them. In terms of our heavy bow, one of the weapons I'm using simply all the time when I'm playing, I'm using Solek Survival Heavy Bow, again base game weapon that's also giving you a lot of damage, but also has grenade arrows that doing crazy amounts of damage. Currently, I'm fighting against enemies 23 or 25 rank, and I'm simply just triple shotting them with grenade arrows. It's a very, very powerful bow, even when you are playing underleveled. With energizing, restoring 15% energy after killing an enemy, perk, quick draw, heavy bow draw time reduced by 20%, and revitalize and restore 10% health after killing an enemy with additional 8% stealth damage. In terms of mods, on my heavy bow I'm using affliction effect, 20% damage if the target has a status effect, because we are doing grenade arrows, we are doing explosions. It's also making some enemies, putting fire on some enemies, and in addition I'm using wildlife damage with its regular arrows. That's because this bow also doing a crazy amount of damage with its just regular arrows, and I'm increasing wildlife damage to one-shot some very powerful enemies like senators, for example. And about spear thrower, let's return for a second. I need to talk about mods. I'm using the Salali braided handle spear thrower grip mod that restores health after killing enemy, in addition to what we have on our spear throwers, and I'm using again Solali's beaded weights that restores 10% energy after killing an enemy. And the last but not least, I'm using shortbow. Shortbow is Solek's Merciless Shortbow, highest damage bow in the game, in the base game, with storm arrows, because again, if you remember, storm damage is something that stagger and stun your enemies. With additional energizing, restore 15% energy after killing enemy perk. Nimble archer, all weapon movements penalties are removed, and additional weak spot dash, move speed increased for 10 seconds after hitting a weak spot. So we're simply just moving as a ninja and simply just killing everyone from stealth with a very high rate of fire, with a quite good range. By the way, short bows, they are not limited in range like you may think at the first glance, and additional stealth damage that is doing. By the way, this bow is very easy. With this bow, it's very easy to even one-shot enemies on high rank RD basis in the base game. In terms of mods, I'm using Solid Nimble Grip, Short Bow Grip mod, sliding damage, again after sliding 20% damage, and RDA damage, because you will fight RDA quite a lot in this game, quite obvious. We're playing Avatar. In terms of skills, I'm using... Do I need to talk about skills? I think not, because in this game you have a lot of skill points, so you need pretty everything. But what I need to talk about, of course, you need all the ancestor skills. They are helping you a lot in the game. You need all the regular skills. You need all these skills in the middle of the tree. You got this from DLC, starting DLC. You will get these three skills. Not something not something mandatory, but it's very good to increase your health, your base damage, and your base energy. But in terms of your epics memory skills, what you need first time, you need second winds, because it helps you when you die. You can skip powerful shots, because with bow or spear thrower, yes, you have additional opportunity to disorient the target, but you already have a lot of different bows with and shotgun, for example, with shock damages already disorientated enemies, so it's not something mandatory what you need to farm first at the first order, in the first order. But what you need, Pandora Harmony, it's very nice perk that helps you to collect items to craft all this gear we've been talking about. And also you need, of course, Master Crafter to ease the whole crafting process. And what else you need? You need Hunter's Boon. It's not, again, something mandatory, but it will help you a lot. You will have an opportunity to perform flying takedown on your enemies, but it's not something, but it's something that your Ikran that you don't want to use all the time, because it will replenish 100% of your Ikran's stamina. But it also inflicts stagger to RDA units in area around you. So it's a very powerful tool, but it's not something you want to use all the time, because you will be simply open you for other enemies. So this radius is limited. So when you use this perk, Hunter's Boon, you will, by the way, replenish all your stamina, Ikran stamina, and also you will be opened for quite some time for RD enemies that's not in this range. So be careful with this perk. It's a very nice perk if you are using this right. And also, yes, it's all what we need to talk about. But if you are playing already DLC, there are some items you definitely want to craft in the DLC. I already been talking about 2 new assault rifle and shotgun, 2 new firearms. But what items do you need to craft in DLC? In terms of items, one of the best head guards in the game you can find in DLC, Skybreaker DLC. By the way, currently it's August 2024, and currently you can play through Skybreaker DLC. It's first DLC from the 2 DLCs you will get from Season Pass. And the best headgear is Anufis Great Games headgear. You get, if I remember correctly, simply from new location vendor for Clan's Favor, and this gear giving you additional stealth perk. In terms of our chest guards, you have new Great Games chest guards. It also has the highest stealth health stat in the game. It's 390, almost 400. It's a very high health stat and additional melee resistance. In terms of arm guards, you can craft Great Games arm guards. It's also increasing wildlife damage and also has almost 400 health stat. In terms of waist clothes, you can craft new Nefika's Great Games waist clothes, increasing again your stealth damage with 390 health. And in terms of ankle guards, you can again craft Great Games land grabs with additional weak spot damage and again 390 health stat. All this gear you get from new Clan Favor vendor, and by the way, it's old vendor but in the new location. And all the perks you need to craft is the same perks that we're using on our items. You can see what perks you need to craft. You can just see I'm showing you the same perks all the time we've been talking about. So the same perks with this new gear, Great Games gear. In terms of longbow, again, we have new longbow, but about this new longbow, I can't say it's better than our Solex furtive longbow because it has the same highest damage stat, 235. Highest possible, but with all our perks we'll have only 189 because we are choosing different perks. So when you are choosing these perks, your overall damage will be a little bit lower. So you can either go for our perks we are using, or go for the highest damage, but you will not have these perks. So I suggest you do a little less damage than the highest possible. For example, we have on the Solex 30 longbow, we have the highest damage possible in crafting version, 235, but that time you will not have access to all this mods. So I suggest you to lower your damage, highest possible damage, because you will easily compensate this with all your perks you have on your bows. So you will have new longbow, Great Games longbow, that has the same highest damage stats as Solex furtive longbow, but the main difference is that Great Games longbow has poison arrow damage. So it's doing poison damage, and in my test, poison damage is not something great currently in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. You need to make separate builds for poison damage. But currently, at least what I've seen, grenade damage is doing much better damage. Explosive grenade damage is something wonderful that even helps you to fight with enemies much higher ranks than you. So I highly recommend you to stay on Solex furtive longbow and not craft Great Games longbow, because in all the perks, in terms of all the perks, it's completely the same. It's only doing different type of damage. In terms of spear thrower, already I've been talking about Aslead spear thrower and showed you it's a wonderful new spear thrower, and by the way, it's legendary spear thrower, and all the legendary items, they are doing additional 10% damage. We've already been talking about this wonderful spear thrower. I showed you already this. About heavy bow, by the way, in heavy bows we have the same situation like with long bows. We got additional new Great Game Heavy Bow that doing new type of damage, Hellbreaker damage, but again, we already have Heavy Bow, Solex Survivor Heavy Bow, with completely the same max damage stats, but it's doing Shellbreaker damage, and it's much worse than Grenade Arrow, so I highly recommend you to stay on Solex Survivor Heavy Bow we already have. And in terms of our short bows, again, it's something the same with our short bows. We have two new bows. By the way, Great Game Shortbow and Rallying Cry. And here is a very interesting thing, because if we're talking about Great Game Shortbow, it's completely the same as Solex Merciless Shortbow. It has the same highest damage stats, and it has the same arrows like Solex Merciless Shortbow. Both bows have storm arrows, so it's completely the same. You don't need to craft new bow if you already have Solex Merciless Shortbow. But about Rallying Cry bow, Ubisoft trying to move us from storm arrows and grenades arrows to new type of damage, poisoned damage. And Rallying Cry, it's a wonderful bow with the highest possible short bow, highest damage stats, 242. It's higher than Great Game Shortbow and Solex Merciless Shortbow, but it's doing poison arrow, poison damage. Poison damage currently, at least what I've tested, even in DLC, it's a little bit less powerful than storm arrows, and of course it's less powerful than our grenade explosive damage. But it's legendary bow. And all the legendary items, if you remember, they are doing 10% more damage. So you can swap from Solex Merciless Shortbow to Rallying Cry. It's a wonderful, very strong bow, but you need, by the way, you need legendary materials. It's a very quite difficult to get. And in additional, you will have, you will need to swap from your current storm arrows that's staggering and stun enemies to poison arrow that's just giving dot damage. So it's just for you to choose. I still think that Solex Merciless Shortbow is better, but Rallying Cry is a very strong, very nice option you can also choose. So it was everything, guys, about Frontiers of Pandora. You see, it's a wonderful game. By the way, it's a very beautiful game. Even on, it doesn't depend which settings you are playing, low, high, medium settings. It's still a very beautiful game. Every time when you come to this game, you will simply just stay for some time, just exploring this wonderful Pandora and exploring this new zone. By the way, a really nice zone with its own Hearts of the Plains, with its own story, very interesting story that's giving you much more lore and much more story context that both two movies, James Cameron movies, can, because Ubisoft again, they created wonderful universe, because what you get from James Cameron movies, you simply got quite nice story but not a lot of lore, and Ubisoft expanded lore. You got a lot of very interesting lore. They created a wonderful world with its own wildlife, flora, and tons of very, very, again, interesting, as already told you several times, lore, because it's a wonderful thing that Ubisoft created. It's a wonderful world that Ubisoft created. So yeah, here it was, guys. Here is the best meta build for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, both DLC and base game. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to check our other guides, builds, different news, like for example on Elder Scrolls Online we're doing regular news on this wonderful game, and other Ubisoft games, builds, guides and news. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Good luck.